What are you afraid of? What impact does it have in your life? Do you think there's anything you could do about it? Now, I'm sure you've been delighted with all of the speakers, but I really invite you to reflect on this. Because everyone has fears. These fears shape our character and are a huge part of our lives, but they can sometimes seem like our worst enemies. And what I attempt to do is explore how you can live peacefully with those fears. And for that, I'll introduce you to 3 of my friends. We'll call them Hannah, Austin, and Amelia. The other day, I had this really deep conversation with them. We were talking about our fears and what impact they've had on our lives. Hannah, she said she was afraid of failure or not living up to people's expectations of her. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And that really made a lot of sense to me because she's a great student, she gets good grades, so she wants to keep up with that sort of image. Then Austin, they say they were afraid of abandonment. And I'm using they, them pronouns with them because they do not identify as male nor female. And that fear made them sometimes do things they may not want to do, just for the sake of approval. And then Amelia, she loves reading and writing, and she said she was afraid of forgetting, and that's why she loved writing so much. Now, all these fears had a really big impact in their lives, and I'm sure your fears do too. And as you've probably noticed, everyone's fear had a deep correlation to their lives. Actually, psychology says there are only 2 fears that are innate to everyone. Which ones, you may ask? Loud noises and falling. That's it. Everything else develops from past experience. What I personally take away from this is that this idea that fear is irrational and manageable or uncontrollable is completely untrue. Because if you have shaped your fears, you can probably do it again. So, think about your fear and try to figure out where it came from. And you probably won't be able to do that right now. Because, I don't know if you've noticed, but the human mind, it's pretty complex. So, it takes time and resources like therapy or maybe meditation to truly understand a small part of yourself. So think about yourself, your trauma, and the fears that may have stemmed from it. Now, you've got your fear, and you know where it comes from. What do you do about it? Well, there's not a simple answer to that. Just as everyone has different fears that come from different places, everyone has different ways of managing them. But it can be done. In fact, I'll explain to you how my 3 friends manage their fear. And maybe, just maybe, you can get something out of that. Hannah finds that when her fear of failure gets to her, the best thing to do is embrace it. And what I mean by this is acknowledging it. Because no, she can't just let it go. In fact, this narrative that you can't let fear get to you is completely unrealistic because fear's there. It won't come out. And instead what she does is she lets her fear sit for a while to then take some deep breaths and overcome it little by little. Austin does something different. They are not ready to deal with their fear, and they are aware of that, which is totally valid. In fact, this also happens to me. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't mentioned myself once in the whole speech, and that is because I too am afraid. Now, someday maybe, when they're ready, they can find a healthy way to deal with their fear. And then Amelia, she finds that her fear is not especially detrimental to her. As long as her writing's not obsessive, she enjoys it. So there's no need of overcoming that fear. And that can happen too. In fact, most fears are like this. It's just that since they are not detrimental to us, we don't tend to notice them. So now you've learned 3 ways to manage your fear. And I ask you, what are you going to do about your fear? Thank you.